News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk KGVO, AM 1290 and 98.3 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Christian with Montana News. Thanks for joining us here on this Friday, August 4th, 2017. Right now we have a smoky sky, 55 degrees in Missoula. Our newscast this morning, sponsored by First Montana Bank, your home for free centennial checking, plus unlimited cash back every time you use your debit card. Our top story this morning, a 25-year-old Missoula man is dead after a pickup truck struck him late last night. Sergeant Rick Stevenson with the Missoula Police Department provides these details.
The Missoula Police Department responded to the report of a vehicle versus pedestrian crash on Rogers Street near the city cemetery entrance. Our initial investigation indicates a pickup truck driven by a 29-year-old Missoula male resident was traveling eastbound on Rogers and struck a 25-year-old Missoula male pedestrian who was apparently walking eastbound on the edge of the roadway or somewhere on the roadway. The collision occurred and caused fatal injuries to the pedestrian. CPR and other life-saving efforts were conducted on scene before EMS declared the pedestrian deceased.
The incident is still under investigation by Missoula Police. Missoula Police are also actively searching for a man who allegedly attempted to kidnap a woman outside of a casino in the 2200 block of Brook Street. The incident occurred early Thursday morning. Police Public Information Officer Travis Welsh said officers were called to the report of a disturbance involving a man who had a knife.
The suspect was identified as 45-year-old Brian Young. The officers also discovered that he had fled prior to their arrival, but they did make contact with a female who reported that he had attempted to abduct her before two other male customers came out of the casino and caused him to flee.
When the two male customers came outside, Young sprayed them with bear spray. Wells said this gave the female victim the chance to get away.
She was able to get back into the casino where she waited until officers arrived. Mr. Young is believed to have left in a 1994 Toyota 4Runner that is maroon in color and bearing Montana license 472951A as in Adam.
Welsh advises not to approach Young because he's armed and dangerous. If you see or know anything about where he might be, please call 911 immediately. Missoula County Sheriff and Coroner T.J. McDermott released the name of the firefighter who died Wednesday afternoon working on the Lolo fire as 29-year-old Brent Witham of Mentone, California. Forest Service Public Information Officer Pat York has more.
It took place on Carlton Ridge on the Lolo Peak Fire, and that, of course, is on the Lolo National Forest. It happened about 2:30 in the afternoon. He was on the Vista Grande Interagency Hotshot Crew. Crews usually come in 20.
York said Witham was a member of a California firefighting crew that arrived in Missoula on July 29th.
I know that the Vista Grande Interagency Hotshot Crew is from San Bernardino National Forest. That's where Brent is from. He was a Forest Service employee. His hometown is Mentone, California, but he worked on the San Bernardino National Forest, and they flew home this morning.
No other details were available from the sheriff's office as to whether there would be a memorial service for Witham in Missoula. However, York said it would be up to Witham's family and his hotshot crew where and when a memorial service would be held. 2 weeks ago, a Missoula wildland firefighter, Trenton Johnson, was also killed by a falling tree while fighting a small lightning-caused wildfire near Seeley Lake. Speaking of fires, the Whetstone Ridge and Myers fires in Montana have become so severe that some residents are now under a red evacuation order. According to Fire Information Officer Arlene Staley, the incident conditions are presenting an immediate threat to residents in the area.
The Granite County Sheriff issued evacuation notices for the Frog Pond Basin area, Copper Creek Campground, and the Moose Lake area. The county sheriff handles the evacuations. We don't. So he's the one who deems when it's unsafe, and he will deem when it's safe to go back in, with our recommendations, of course, but it does go through the sheriff's office.
Staley says the two fires combined Tuesday. They now have a new name.
The two fires merged together. We were doing the Whetstone and the Myers fire. They have grown together, and so now we're just calling it the Myers fire. So the total acreage for it is 11,882 acres. We have 469 personnel, and that includes 4 Type 1 hotshot crews, 6 Type 2 hand crews, and then additional support.
The Myers fire ignited July 14th. It's 25 miles southwest of Phillipsburg. 29-year-old Shane Pelletier is in the Missoula County Jail, charged with felony sexual intercourse without consent. Pelletier is accused of sexually assaulting a woman July 7th after she went out drinking with friends downtown. The victim said she passed out and Pelletier sexually assaulted her twice. Deputy County Attorney Brian Lowney asked Judge Landy Holloway to continue Pelletier's bail at $100,000.
The state's asking for $100,000 bail in this case. The reason is based on the gravity of the offense. This was a stranger rape perpetrated on a person that Mr. Pelletier found incapacitated in the parking garage downtown.
He was arrested by U.S. Marshals in Butte and transported to the Missoula County Jail. Felony sexual intercourse without consent carries a sentence from 4 years to 100 years or life in prison and a $50,000 fine. There's room for up to 342 male and female inmates at the Missoula County Detention Center. However, Jail Commander Jason Kowalski and the Sheriff's Office have also developed policies for housing transgendered persons. One example is the case of Carissa Jill Hardy, also known as Glenn Dibley, who was arraigned in Missoula Justice Court Tuesday, is being held on $2 million bail. Court records indicate Hardy began dressing as a woman and adopted a female name nearly 2 years ago. Kowalski said special accommodations have been made for Hardy's privacy and safety.
The first thing they do is usually go into a classification area, and from there we look at criminal histories, their current charges, their current attitudes about their incarceration, and see how they can best incorporate into the jail in general. So right now that particular person is in a administrative segregation cell where they are housed alone.
Kowalski said the safety of the inmates and the jail staff is the number one priority at the detention center.
We have to protect their safety. We also have to protect the other inmates' safety. So there's some unique aspects to holding somebody that is transgender in our facility. Just because they identify as possibly a female, then that doesn't mean we house them with the females, because there's certainly some safety concerns involved with that. And the same thing, if we put a female that identified as a male in with the male population, there's certainly some risk and victimization type issues that come up along those lines.
Kowalski said the jail staff have been trained to be sensitive to gender identity issues. The drought that's plaguing eastern Montana came on fast. More than a third of the entire state is now in severe, extreme, or exceptional drought after another week of little or no rainfall, according to a report yesterday by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln's U.S. Drought Monitor. Just 3 months ago, there were no drought areas at all. Ann Schwend of the Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation called it a flash drought before a legislative committee this week. The Drought Monitor estimates 12% of the state, most of northeastern Montana, is in exceptional drought, which is the top end of the scale. That means widespread crop and pasture losses and water shortage emergencies. The area is surrounded by a larger landmass covering all of eastern Montana that is in severe or extreme drought. And finally, an ethics panel says a sitting Montana judge is doing nothing wrong in exploring a run for the U.S. Senate. Montana's Judicial Standards Commission concluded that District Judge Russell Fagg's decision to create an exploratory committee does not violate the Code of Judicial Conduct. The Montana Democratic Party has argued that Fagg is violating a rule. The commission found Fagg is a Republican, by the way. The commission found Fagg has not identified himself as a candidate, but said he's merely testing the waters. Fagg said he'll decide his political future after he retires from the bench in October. Our Newstalk time, 6:13.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
A mix of sun and smoke today with our high temperatures in the low 90s. We are tracking a cold front that will bring increasing winds, and tonight we could see wind gusts between 20 and 30 miles per hour. Breezy on Saturday, highs in the low 80s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.